Oh, my guest today, I'm so pleased to have you here, is Benjamin DELSOL. And if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to tell the listeners something about yourself because, as I said one moment ago, I don't think I could even begin to do justice to all the
No.
different hats you wear and the different competencies you have. But thank you for being here, and please tell people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the audience that will be watching our discussion today. So yeah, basically, in a nutshell, I will start when I was 9, where when I was 9, I wanted to be an astrophysicist. I don't know
Ah.
why. I asked my parents where come that this idea come from. They have not been able to tell me exactly why, but at 9, I wanted to be astrophysicist. And at 10, just I have seen a TV show. So it's not very fancy, but it's a TV show called Quantum Leap. And that was my
I
first,
remember it.
yeah. So the first time I heard about the word quantum, and it was a quantum physicist traveling in time and so on. So I was saying, wow, wait, quantum physics seems very interesting. So since this day, I said to myself, one day I will have a PhD in quantum physics. And I did. So I get my PhD in quantum physics. And just after that, I changed for intellectual property, basically because I wanted more than just science. I wanted also everything about business, innovation, technology, and law as well, which is very interesting. And intellectual property is, for me, I see that like the alchemy of our era, the way we can transform a simple idea, a thought, into something real that has a real value on an economic point of view. So this is, for me, IP is like alchemy. So I turned into intellectual property. I became, it was more than 10 years ago now. I became a French patent attorney, European patent attorney and litigator. And I have also a master's degree in IP law and management. And I worked on in-house in companies. I worked also in private practice. And then I created my own activity where I work basically as a fractional chief intellectual property officer and fractional chief intangible asset officer for my clients. So basically what I do, I design, craft IP strategies, intangible asset strategies to support the business of my clients. So the way I see IP is not as a legal tool, but more like a clear weapon of mass construction. So a business tool. So clearly for me, it's how can you reach your business goals thanks to IP or intangible asset. And it's very important because as we will be discussing, I think intangible assets right now are basically between 70 to 90% where the value of a company, a modern company is. When you check the S&P 500 companies, 83% of the value of these companies are on their intangible assets. So
This is incredible to me.
yeah,
What,
I know.
like incredible. I'm just shocked that it could be so high.
I know it's very high. It's specifically because of the digital transformation. It happens already quite a long time ago where even even companies like in the very concrete stuff, they change for digital market. So they started to create more value with IP, more value with data, more value with the know-how, with their talents. So that's why the value of a company now is mainly it's not mainly, it's basically only on intangible assets, and especially for deep tech companies, startups, and so on that start basically without any clients. They don't have product. All of that they have, it's what they have in mind. So this is where IP is so important, to be able to transform and protect and secure these thoughts into real economic value. And also during my academic journey, I would say I have also a diploma in neuroscience because for me, I wanted to be able to optimize my life. And the first thing I think you need to optimize is your brain.
Yeah.
It's basically everything you do is based on how your brain will work. For me, it was the first step, it was neuroscience to be able to
Yeah.
optimize things.
Yeah, you've done a few things.
Yes.
You've done a few things.
I don't have a TV at home because
Yeah,
everyone is saying, how do you do all of that? So first of all, I don't have TV and
me
we
too.
don't watch and I don't have Netflix on my phone. And all of that, it's already a lot of time that is saved. Then we don't have dinner. We have only one meal a day. So of course it's reduced. Of course, again, it gives you a lot of time to do other things. And because we eat basically raw food, we don't need to cook a lot. So at the end, with this, our lifestyle with my wife and my daughter, we are able to have a lot of free time to do other stuff.
Very interesting, because I have to say we're the same here in that we have no TV. We have one, but we never put it on. You know, maybe once a week we watch for an hour or something. And we also don't eat dinner since the last year or two. We've tried to we have a meal around noon or 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And if we're hungry, you eat an apple or something, you grab something later in the day, but we don't cook a second meal. And you're absolutely right. It freed up a huge amount of time.
Yes, exactly.
Huge amount of time.
It's
crazy,
incredible.
but and I thought I would miss it more. Like, I know people who don't eat breakfast, that they make a longer whatever, and then they
intermittent
start with
fasting,
lunch.
basically. Yes, yeah.
But I thought dinner, there's no way that I could skip dinner. But it was my husband's idea, because he goes very often to a meditation center, Vipassana meditation. And there, when you're meditating, of course, you don't eat dinner. And he just thought he likes to meditate in the evening again, a third time, actually. He's a big meditator. But he said it's hard to meditate in the evening if you had a meal. So,
of course.
So that was the impetus to do it. And I was surprised that I don't miss it at all.
Now, every time you have a meal, basically you ask your body to work, to digest it.
Yeah.
So basically you cannot do other things. And by night, there is no point to having a meal. You will be sleeping, you will not be doing anything, so you will not be using this energy. And by night, the body is designed to do so many other things, to clean the body, to a lot of things, that if you are eating by night, you just say your body, no, wait, just digest first, and then if you have time, do your cleaning stuff after. And that's not good. My wife is using always this example of a restaurant. If the restaurant is open 24/7, they never have time to clean the plates, to clean the restaurant itself or the kitchen. So sometimes you have to say, stop, let's clean stuff, and then we have it again. Yeah, no, that's very interesting to have this common practice to not eating by night. Yeah. But it's very important to keep a social relationship by night. So what we do with my daughter, basically, we will play games, board games, stuff like that, just to spend time together.
Nice.
Or reading books, talking about the day. It's very important, because most of the time, having dinner is a good way to have this relationship with your family. So if you remove the dinner, you need to put something else.
Yes,
just to get this bounding time.
Yeah, we sometimes we have tea together or something. We'll sit together and talk and unpack the day a little bit or whatever, but it is important. Cool. So we have something more in common than all the things we already know. It's very nice. So we're talking
about... And I
about...
forget to mention as well, sorry for that.
Go ahead.
That I have a huge activity in AI as well. I have a complete division in my company that is focusing on designing AI tools and basically how to augment human capabilities using AI. So the main point is not AI replacing people, it's having augmented people thanks to AI. So I think it's something that is very important, especially at this time where AI is coming more and people are afraid of AI, some of them, because they say, okay, it will just take my job away. And I will say no, and especially if you learn how to use it. And if you think AI like a companion, a junior in your team, like a team member that you will be supervising to do specific tasks. So just between parentheses,
And I think, we've just been talking, I think AI is not, we're not looking to AI to develop new IP, for instance. I suppose it can happen, but that it can totally happen. But I like that idea. And of course, I know that we're on the same page about this, but my particular interest is working on expanding the potential, on the spiritual side, the consciousness side of the people who are creating these tools and these technologies, so that they are designed with the highest possible purpose, let's say, and intention. So these things are still being designed and created and managed and stewarded by
Yes,
human beings who it would be nice to think that they are all people like yourself with a broad base of knowledge and a very elevated perspective of what they're for and how they.
But you know, the word intention is very important, because whatever you look around you, it's always based on an intention first. I have this pen that I have here to work on with my tablet and so on. It wasn't exist if there was not someone with the intention to create it at the beginning. And the IP is created by intention. Companies are created by intention. And when the intention is aligned, of course, with your real value, this is where you are driven and you really are engaged in the success of your company. When I met clients that they just want to make money, I just say, this is not the best way to do it. Just rob a bank. It will be easier, basically, than creating a company on something where you are not really connected with. So I think because I do also mentoring and coaching of CEOs, if you are not aligned with the vision of your company, basically at one point, you may fail, or at least you will not be happy with your life and you will not be aligned with yourself. Yeah.
I think that's true 100%. I think the world is full of very materially successful people who are not so happy inside of themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. This is how do we define success? Basically, from a neuroscience point of view, success is when you get what you really want. But the trick is knowing what you really want. Exactly. So most of the time you think it's money, but most of the time it's not money. It can be power for some people. It can be security for others. So maybe you can have this security without having millions in the bank account in another way. So when you find your real why, basically, and my wife is always saying that if your why is strong, your how it's easy. So when you find your why, then it changes everything. And most of your time, you are successful because you are doing what you love. And because you are doing what you love, you don't seem to work, basically. I work, but I don't feel that I'm working. So because I do what I love. And I think this is part of success.
Oh, I agree completely. I've just today, or the last few days, I noticed that I'm sitting at my computer feeling tense, trying to get a lot of things done. And I just now, before we started our call, I just said no. And I closed my computer and went outside and walked in the sunshine for a little bit. And I said, whatever I think I'm doing, it's a complete illusion, because I enjoy what I do so much that I notice it if for 5 minutes I'm not in that flow of just doing what I love and I enjoy. I feel it in my body and I just say, no, I've gotten distracted by something that doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah.
There's that lovely joke, and probably this one, but it's a wealthy businessman who goes on a holiday to some Caribbean island and sees the fisherman. This story, right? And he tells him, oh, you could do better. You could get a loan, buy another boat, hire more people, make more, and then you'll have a factory and you'll process the fish and you'll have so much money. At the end of the day, he says, and then what do I do? He says, then you can sit on the beach in the evening with your wife and enjoy the sunset. He says, I do that already.
Exactly.
Right?
I love this story.
It's a very good story.
Yeah. And very realistic. No, I completely agree with that. The point of working, and that's why IP again and intangible assets are so important, because it's when you do what you love, you want to be sure that what you create is protected in a way, not protected to avoid sharing it with others, because again, IP is designed for sharing. A lot of people think IP is just to block and to keep things secret and blah, blah, blah. Not at all. The patent, for example, is to be published. There is an obligation 18 months after filing a patent application, this patent application will be published. Published why? Because a patent is like a contract with a state, where the state say, okay, I will give you the exclusivity on this technology, but you need to disclose it to allow anyone to build based on that, to go further, to understand how it works and so on. If we were in a world without patents, everyone should would keep everything secret. So you cannot progress as a society, as a civilization. You cannot progress if everyone is keeping things secrets. But thanks to patents, you can progress. And again, it's not because you have a patent that you cannot provide an open source license of it. You can perfectly say, okay, I provide a free license for educational purpose, but not to make money with it. So again, I think there is a lack of knowledge among regular people, I would say, about IP. And most of IP practitioners try to keep this IP stuff mysterious, difficult to understand. They like to use legal and attorney wording, but at the end, it's not good for the society. I think it's very important to be able to talk about IP, to talk about intangible assets with anyone in the street, because at the end, these people are the real creators of value. That's why it's so important in a company to manage correctly your teams and so on, because these guys, as well as your clients, are creating the real value of your company. And so if you don't manage that correctly, you can lose a lot of money. I will take an example. Right now, we see a lot of companies that are firing people to put AI instead of them at some positions. They do that without strategy. So I can understand from an economic point of view, it's blah, 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 there is advantages, blah, blah, maybe. But the main issue we see is that they remove people that cannot be replaced by AI without knowing it. Because these people have a certain know-how. It could be in the accountable department, for example. The guy is here for 20 years. He knows things that you cannot learn at school, that you cannot learn in a book. But he knows it because he has a practice of it. Yeah. And if you remove this guy with an AI, with the knowledge of the diploma, of the knowledge of the books and blah, 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 he will not be able to do the same job. So this is really what I call as well an intangible assets. It's the know-how of people. And if you are not aware of this know-how, of the key people that are very strategic in your company, that make things works, you will just lose a lot of time, energy, and money without any correct management. This is where neuroscience comes as well, being able to manage correctly people, thanks to neuroscience tricks, I would say, to make everyone happy at his job. This is the point. And I see that because with my company, when we provide some clients with AI technologies to help them in their daily work, they are happier, because when you go to see someone with administrative tasks only, most of the time people are not really happy with this kind of work, but they have to be done. But when you provide this person AI tool that the person will be supervising, first, it's like being a manager, of an AI agent. Yes, it's not a real person, but it's still a management part of agents. And only that give responsibility, give purpose to the person. So basically, she's doing the same work by supervising agents that are working for her or for him, and she's happy with that. So AI can really increase happiness at work when correctly used. It's like everything. It's you do things without strategy, basically it's not done correctly. Or you just hope for, and that's it.
Oh, understand exactly what you're talking about in terms of the strategy. Of course, strategy is important, but I think so many businesses are running without those strategies in place. And that I don't know, I have one client who is a recruiter. She's recruiting talent for companies. And she said she has been asked to fill several positions that are at different levels of the company. And she said, part of what I see as my job is she's quite an intuitive person. And so she's taking a long view and she's looking for people who are going to work well together at all the different levels, and also who can move into other roles as they promote from within the company. And she said, it seems like this was never done before in this company. And They don't understand what I'm
no,
trying
but
to
yes,
do.
yeah, sure. But
Just look at the metrics of each person and they pick
yeah,
this one goes this job and
yeah,
this one goes this job. And she said, there's nobody looking at the flow of how all of this is going to move.
exactly. And this is from the two sides, I think. I mean, from the recruiter, but also from the employee. Most of people wants to know how much money they will be doing at this job. They don't ask what they will be coming. And
Yeah.
that's the issue. And no sides of the discussion thinks about that. And
Yeah.
it's crucial for if you want a company to evolve. Basically, I work with CEOs, and some of them are like, okay, guys, if you want tomorrow to create your own startups, I will be very happy for you. I will help you and so on. So they are creating CEOs on a sub-level within their own company. So with the mindset of a CEO, of an entrepreneur, you don't manage an IP team or R&D team the same way that if you just think, okay, I am the manager, so blah, blah, blah. So being able to inspire people like that and to make them think that it's just a step, it's not a dead end, I think it makes a world difference on the growth of a company, the success of a company, and the happiness of people. If you compare that with every life on Earth, humans is the only one that stop growing on purpose. I will take an example. I often ask my clients when I do mentoring stuff, how tall can a tree grow? How high?
Sorry, say that again. I mean, how tall can a
high?
tree grow?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And most of the time they don't really know, and they say it depends of the nature of the tree, what is blah, blah, blah. But the real answer is that basically as high as it can. It never stopped by itself. It stopped because of the environment. It stopped because of maybe there is not enough nutriment, not enough sun, or blah, blah, blah. But it's high as it can. And as humans, we don't do that. We stop. When we are babies, we think that everything is possible and we try everything. But as one point, we stop thinking like that. And that's why I always say to people, believe it like a child and work on it like an adult. Because this is that makes a complete difference. A child doesn't have the tools to create his dreams, but an adult has it, but lose its dreams. So basically, you need to mix the mentality of a child, believing deeply into something, with the tools of an adult to create it. And again, what I see with my clients is that the companies with a CEO with this kind of mindset change everything. It makes companies successful because they believe in something very strongly and they will do whatever it takes to make it happen.
And as we said a moment ago, that you are by definition doing what you love when you're aiming for something that you believe in, and it's not I don't know, having faith or something like that, but it's very hard as adults to believe when the reflection that you get back from other people is to tell you you're foolish, you're stupid, it's going to fail, everyone will laugh at you, they tell you that it's wrong. You have to push all of that away. It's very hard to hold a space in front of you.
So that's why two things are very important. Something that do not depend of people. It's sad, but it's really the parents you have, the education you received. If you have built a self-confidence, basically, and this is directly based on your childhood. But and the other side is meditation. Because when you meditate, you are able within your brain to kind of take distance between you and the rest of the world. So when you do that, you kind of reduce the impact of what the other people can think or say about you. And if you don't, of course, you cannot control your parents when you are a child. So okay, it depends of life and how you react to that and blah, blah, blah. But right now, everyone can meditate if you want. And I recommend always to meditate in some companies, because I do also a lot of neuroscience with R&D people and so on. They often take a break for a cigarette. And people that are not smoking, basically, said, oh, it's not fair. The guy is every 30 minutes is outside for at least 10 minutes, taking a break for his cigarette. And I don't smoke, so I don't have breaks. So I said, yeah, but take a break to meditate. And when you implement that within a team, even some people, not all of them, of course, but some people that were smoking smoke a little less just to take this meditation break as well, because they see how effective it is to be able for 5 minutes be away of everything, be disconnected to everything. It's clear their mind, it's make them more confident in themselves.
I'm curious about how you suggest this to people, whether they do it like right at their desk or whether they have some other place that they like step away physically. How do you suggest that?
Honestly, I'm a very practical guy, so at the desk, it's enough. If they can do that at the desk, they don't lose time. It's 5 minutes on the desk. They close their eyes. They can listen to specific music if they want, and they can follow any kind of meditation they prefer. Most of the time, it's based on respiration and consciousness, self-consciousness, and so on. But again, I'm very practical. Everything I do with the company is to not create friction, but to create value for the company without adding frictions. And it's very important because you could do a lot of things in a company to try to improve things. But if you create a lot of friction to do it, at the end, you are not improving things. So my strategy is always improve things without friction. So that's why, of course, I'd say if you can go outside with the sun, blah, 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 it's better. But honestly, if you can do that at your desk, 5 minutes, it's already good.
What a fantastic idea. That's really great. And it's so perfect because I know exactly what you mean, that in a culture where some people are smokers, they are absolutely somehow entitled to go out once every hour, 90 minutes, step outside and lose 10 minutes or 15 or whatever. I know my stepdaughter has been working in the hospitality industry for many years in restaurants, different kinds of jobs, and when she was smoking at one point, just to say it's the only way, like you can't have any break in your day unless you can justify.
And that's
so
crazy.
She's had to,
I mean, that's really
what
crazy.
A ridiculous thing, right?
Yeah.
Completely
so that's why,
ridiculous.
I mean, if we can implement that, and I would love that at one point, a guy working in a restaurant say, wait, I take my pause 5 minutes for my meditation. And the guys and the manager say, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do it. We don't have that. But for the cigarette, it works.
But great that you're implementing that and starting to get it into the culture. I think there's something about I think we were just really talking about this, but systems often by definition are rigid, they're hierarchical, they have some, what I'm going to say is like masculine energy attributes, which are that the process is more important, becomes more important than the idea that they're supposed to be, that they're supposed to be bringing into, like you said, that the IP should turn into, it's an asset. You're trying to turn it into an asset, and it becomes all about the process and less about the idea.
No, most of the time, this is the main issue indeed. And I would say that for meditation, it's thanks to science, because now we have proof that show that indeed meditation provides some advantages on the cognitive ways the brain will work and so on. So we have proofs. So that's why it's a bit easier to introduce meditation in companies now that it was in 20 years ago. So this is very important. It's thanks to science. But you're right, at one point, a lot of companies are just based on process. And I would take an example. The traditional innovation process of a company is, okay, we are on the market, there is a need, so we need to create a solution. So they create an innovation, a product, let's say a product. At one point, the R&D team comes up with this product. It's done, okay, perfect, blah, blah, blah. And they go to see the IP guy of the company, or maybe an IP law firm if it's external outsourced. And then the IP guy will say, okay, great, maybe you want to patent it, or maybe you need to check the freedom to operate. So do you have the right to sell this product, or are you infringing the patent of someone else? And so the process is, I innovate, I have a product, I check IP. Can I have a patent? Yes, no. Is there an issue with freedom to operate? Yes, no. So no, depending on the strategy of the company, of course, sometimes they say, if I cannot have patent, that's not a big deal. And others said, oh, we need a patent anyway, so let's come back to the innovation stuff and modify our product to get a patent maybe. And for the freedom to operate, it's not a choice. Basically, you cannot afford infringing the patent on someone else. So if indeed there is an infringement, risk of infringement, the product needs to come back in innovation and you need to change it to be sure you will not be infringing this patent. But then you need to check again, maybe with another, and so on. This is a regular process, and 98% of companies is doing that. What I implement with my clients, it's completely different. It's called IP design. IP design is you do things on the opposite. You start with IP saying, okay, guys, you are working on a market. You want, I don't know, for example, it's quantum telecommunication. Okay. So you want to innovate in this field, the need of your clients. That's good. So let's do an IP landscape on this specific technological field. Let's see who are the main players, what is already protected. And the way to do that, it's like having a map with some islands where you have the main actors on specific key technologies regarding this quantum telecommunication field, for example. And then what we do with the R&D team, we work together to see where we could innovate without infringing the other guys, but still fitting with the need of the clients. So now we start designing a solution, knowing that we will not be infringing anyone, and knowing as well that this solution will probably be patentable because we already know what exists. And so we will be able to be different from that. And at the end, we have only one cycle basically of innovation, and we get something that can be patented, and you have the freedom to operate. But you require, of course, someone with the ability to think differently outside of the box, basically, and not just to follow the classical process of innovation.
That's so incredibly valuable. And I can understand how much it would add also to the sense of freedom and agency and enjoyment of the people who work there.
Yes, and inspiration as well, because when you see what the other people, what the other companies are doing, it gives you some ideas to create better things. So it's I see only good things with this strategy, and it's reduce the cost, of course, because you don't need to do several innovation cycles. You don't need to do several freedom to operate stuff and so on. You basically can do that on one shot.
That's genius, actually.
At least it's very powerful, especially when companies at one point, they don't know exactly what they want to do from an innovation point of view. I lost the video with you.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, no, just to know if you are still here.
There we go. I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was recently attending the Deep Tech Week in New York, which was completely fascinating. And I went there to hear about the physics of consciousness. That one blew me away. But some of the other things that I heard, one of them was about biotech and creating new medicines.
Yeah.
And one of the presenters said something that shocked me, which was that 95% of drugs fail at the level of the human trial, which is so far along the innovation.
Oh, yeah.
So far along. And I thought, you've got to be kidding. If anybody could point to a system that is broken, that you have 95 of the medicines that make it all the way through all the funding cycles and all the innovation and all the wasted trillions of dollars and hours of people's time to get all the way to a human trial, that fails. You have to scratch your head and say, how is it possible that no one can see how profoundly broken?
It's very difficult. There is a start of a solution. It's with digital twins and personalized medicine. If, for example, I use AI and some other algorithms that exist today, I could create basically a digital twin of yourself. And then where it became very complicated, and maybe I think quantum computing will be able to help on that, is how do you process medicine in your body? And how the medicine will interact with other medicines and so on. All this dynamic is very difficult to be able to simulate, but on a classical computer. On a quantum computer, we may be able to do it, especially if we mix that with some AI technologies. So at one point, we may be able to say, okay, for you, Tracy, if you take this medicine at this time and this other medicine at this time, there will no interaction and other way, and it will even maybe increase the efficiency and so on.
Yeah.
But we are very far from that today. And even if we are here, would you be okay take a drug without any human trials, but just AI quantum simulations? Not
Yeah.
sure. Not
Yeah.
sure. So even there, but it should at least probably reduce the 95% to something like 30 or 20% of failure, probably.
That's
So
fantastic.
it's huge.
And
It's huge, of course. So
yeah,
that's why
one
so
of the
many pharmaceutical companies are putting money on AI and quantum computations, because this is key for them.
indeed, and one of the presentations that I saw, it might even have been the same one that was talking about this, was a technology to do better tissue typing, like
Yeah.
better sampling of the patient to
Yeah.
understand which medicine is going to work for this particular
Yeah.
type of pathology.
Yeah.
Which is that's exactly what you're saying, like the personalization, the
Yeah.
individuation of the delivery of medicine, so that we don't have a drug, which is we have how many kinds of, let's say, chemotherapy for breast
Yeah.
cancer, maybe half a dozen protocols at the most for all the
Yeah.
millions
Sure.
of
Sure. Sure.
people. And even
Yeah.
to say that you start with number one and it's only trial and error to find out if it works. So to be able
Yeah.
to precisely target to the person is really the next level.
No, and this is something which I am very familiar with, because when I was 15, I get a cancer. When I get 30, 32, another one, and 2 years ago, another one.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so I'm very familiar with all these protocols, and indeed, which is incredibly surprising, is that they have a certain amount of protocols, and whoever you are, you fit in this box.
Yeah.
So you get this protocol. And it's because my way of living is very different from the other people, because we optimize things with my wife. As two scientists, we've dive deep into nutrition and so many things that it's for most of them doctors that I met, they cannot answer my questions. When I say, okay, I follow this I don't know, this way, or this kind of protocol in my life with different supplements and so on, what will be the effect with chemotherapy, blah, 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 they are not able to answer it. And even worse, they say to me, please stop everything you do to be healthy, basically, because it may reduce the effect of the chemotherapy on your body. Because of course, what I was doing was antioxidant a lot, and the chemotherapy, basically, at least the ones I had, is very oxidative stuff to basically kill everything which is moving. And okay, the good things may survive, the bad thing will be killed, and that's it. When you think about that, I hope in 50 years, people will say they were crazy. It's 200 years ago when you were just making people bleed just to cure them. This is basically what we do today with chemotherapy, radiotherapy. I get strong radiotherapy as well, strong chemotherapy. It was 1 week under chemotherapy at the hospital during multiple cycles. So it was very hard. And it's very barbaric when you think about the way it is from a scientific point of view. It's, come on, we cannot do better.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's quite a story.
Yeah, I know.
My goodness. We could talk all day long for sure and not get tired, but I'm going to have to let you go because I'm sure you have many other things to do in your day. But this was completely fascinating. And I'm very grateful that you agreed to come on the show. Of course, we were introduced by Jasmine and Donal of Quantum Mogul. I know that you have some dealings with them, some clients in common.
We created Quantum Stellium with them, which is a way to mix their expertise with mine to help companies. So basically, I work as a fractional chief intellectual property officer, and then Jasmine and Donald has different fractional position as well. Jasmine is more about marketing position, and Donald will be more about position within the finance part of the company. So we created this quantum stellium offer because we have seen that there was a need and nobody was filling this need. And it's the same for my activity. What I do, I'm basically alone doing it. I have no competition, basically, because what I do, I'm not say to my client what they should do. I go and do it for them within their organization. A classical IP law firm would say, oh, you should do that, you should do that, you should do that. Pay me now and bye-bye. I don't do that. I go and do things within the organization of my clients as part of the organization. That's why it's a fractional chief intellectual property officer position. And
very cool.
Because I don't like letting my clients without a correct strategy. I see all these brilliant people, brilliant ideas, and if they don't manage IP and intangible assets correctly, they're gonna fail. And I cannot let that happen because these people are brilliant. The solutions they bring to the market are very important solutions.
Yeah.
So at one point, you need to do something.
Oh, that's really great. And I feel very much the same way. For me, it's about the solutions that people are bringing into the world and giving them what they need to manage in the system that is not maybe so well designed to nurture that development of that idea, to have what they need. In my case, it would be more on a energetic level, which is absolutely about the neuroscience when it comes right down to it.
Of course,
but
sure.
To be able to function efficiently within a system that is set up somehow to block you at many turns. So what we want is for the solution to come into the world.
And, exactly.
So thank you so much for this. Tell people, please, how they can get in touch with you. And of course, I'll put the information in the notes as well.
On LinkedIn, I was very active on LinkedIn. I try to keep the pace and be always active on LinkedIn, and not always easy with clients and works to do and so on, especially because I manage my LinkedIn myself. I know some people use community manager and so on. I do everything myself. So it's not always easy to find time to do it, but at least it's from me directly. So they can, of course, reach out to me on LinkedIn. They will find me easily with that, yes.
Great.
And recently, I have even seen that you can ask AI like Perplexity or ChatGPT about me, and they know about me. I was surprised, but yeah. So they can even ask. Yeah.
How nice. Very good. Okay, this was delightful, and I'm absolutely looking forward to staying in touch, having more conversations.
Likewise. Yeah, likewise. Yes.
And we'll be in touch. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you. Have a nice day.